Right in there. All right, you're on.
Are we live now? Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special session workshop that we've got, starting at 6:30 here. It is June 27th, 2023. And if you would all please the invocation, pledge allegiance.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight. We're truly grateful for having the privilege to serve our city. We pray, Father, that as we discuss our agenda and make decisions for our city, keep us mindful that we must put our citizens' interest above our own. Father, I pray that we have a productive meeting, that we can discuss important issues and reach effective solutions that will benefit our people and glorify your holy name. Please watch over all of us and keep our city and our citizens safe. Grant us your mercy, your peace, and your unending love. And we ask all of these things in your Son, Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements? Anybody?
This week is a busy week. We have the Quinlan fireworks from 6 to 10 on Friday night. We have the rededication of the Veterans Memorial Garden at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. And then we have the Travers Jam Fest from 5 to 10 Saturday evening. We also have with fireworks, yes, with fireworks. They have fireworks for us. And then the EDC has a meet and greet, movies in the park on the 15th at 8:30.
July 15th?
July 15th
At what time?
at 8:30. That's all I can think of.
Any citizens have any announcements? Anybody last chance? We're moving on to item number 5. Consider and no take action for rededication on Saturday, July 1st, 2023 at 10 a.m. for the Veterans Memorial Grand Opening and the rededication for the Veterans Memorial at the West Tawakoni City Park. It looks like they've done a bang-up job getting it together. Do you guys need me to go over the itinerary and where they're at? Oh, there's Mary going.
You can if you'd like. It's going to be a very brief ceremony. I've given each one of you a color printout of the invite, and we've emailed them, and we've actually passed them out local businesses and things of that nature. But we would welcome everyone to come. We especially want to invite all our city council, mayor, police, fire, to come out and support our rededication of the garden, because we've worked really hard on it.
Which it looks really nice, by the way.
Real good.
Yeah.
I understand you've got a custom done memorial or
Yes.
stone put in there that you're gonna unveil. That's
are.
exciting. And
It's
you guys
beautiful too, by the
Y'all
way.
I've driven through that park 2-3 times, and that is so wonderful to see that area cleaned up, and it looks so much better. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for doing that for the city.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, moving on to number, take action. It's really not an action item, though. There's nothing we need to make a decision on, all right? I don't want to do it like that. Moving on to number 6, amendment to amendment 8. Is that in our paperwork somewhere, Kim?
It was the last amendment that was done,
On what?
on the check signing card.
Okay, that's in, okay.
It's in the packet, I thought.
No, I see it now. It's almost item number 8, new business dated January 10th of 2023. which is consider and or take action to add Mayor Jim Turnipseed, Mayor Pro Tem Pam Reed, City Council Member Kevin Featherston, and City Secretary Kim Calley to check signers on city checking accounts, removing Annette Lemons, City Administrator, from the check signing cards in all checking accounts. Anybody have any questions, comments,
Basically,
concerns?
what we're doing is replacing Annette with Kim.
Right.
Essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're adding Pam though.
No,
No, I was.
Oh, okay. I thought we were.
no, we did that.
I was thinking we did.
Yeah, we did that back sometime. I think it was just kind of reiterating what we're having.
I have a question, Jim, about the check signing cards.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep West Tawakoni Beautiful went to the bank, it's been a month or so ago. We have had to take our minutes and everything to get this changed over. We have your name, Pam Reed's name, and Kim Calley's name as check signers. We do not have Kevin on our accounts. So I don't know if that's a problem, an issue, needs to change, but it's a
No,
hassle to change it.
Is there a total of 3 on it? Or,
There's 3,
well, plus you or?
plus me and David Radke, who's not here tonight.
I spoke with Tammy on how to do an amendment to an amendment to an amendment to and she said, keep West Tawakoni Beautiful had just came in, so we can leave that as is. And
Good.
if y'all are still okay with that. But if we wanted to add Kevin onto theirs, then they would need to do their minutes.
Well, that
and
thing
Kevin.
got coverage. If you got 2 or 3 more people, yeah, who's making the checks out? Who's writing the checks?
Mary.
Me?
Because you won't be able to sign.
Yeah,
Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like they got 5 finders to it, right?
we do have 5
Yeah.
So
people.
they got pretty good coverage. I think that's what we were trying to
Yeah,
achieve.
just trying.
We were
Yeah,
trying to make sure we had
exactly.
good coverage for somebody being out.
If there's nothing else to consider,
Gotta take action.
yeah, I gotta take
I'll
action.
do it. I make a motion to, accept amendment 8B to name Jim Turnipseed, Pam Reed, Kevin Featherston, Kim Calley as signees on the city's checking accounts.
I'll second that motion.
We have to remove, also have to add, remove.
Oh, and remove Annette Lemons.
Yes. I didn't bring this up in the very first, we've all been present all the time. And I didn't announce that, Leon's not here today. We never, any of us ever missed the meeting, so it just kind of threw me. But Kim, if you would make note that everyone but Leon is in attendance. Sorry about that. Okay, all in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
It is unanimous. Item number 7 is adjourn for this special session. The chairman motion,
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Chris, Ron,
Kevin Featherston.
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
it is unanimous. We're just gonna go right into the workshop. Honestly, I thought about this off and on. I don't know if we're gonna have everything finalized today. I think what we wanted to make a workshop of this was to get some ideas, contrast it to the last part of what we had. In my understanding, the way I understood it years ago, I wasn't on it, but I was a part of, what goes on in the city, was the previous park board was not an event committee. It didn't do events. Their bylaws, their ordinances, everything will attest to that. And what we've lacked in the last several years is somebody to do the events other than Christmas in the park, trunk or treat,
Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt. Yeah, I think those are the 3 main ones
Yeah.
that we've done. But I think we can do better than that. We've not had a lot of revenue coming into the park over the last few years, and plus we're missing out on a lot of good times. So I'm kind of going to open it up for discussion of what everybody thinks the direction we should go with a committee. And this will be more an advisory. There'll be some action taken by the committee to host and put on different events. So does anybody have anything they'd like to make sure that we consider about this? Real pretty, I see you now.
Okay, I was here, 2016 when we started that other one, and it was a park board. They started out trying to make it committee, but as a committee, you can't get funds, you can't get grants, you can't do anything. You have to be a park board. And park board, which is under the umbrella of the city, which makes it a nonprofit organization. Keep that in mind. If you want funds from the state or from the federal government, you're gonna have to have a board, not a committee. Committees is
Well, if you done through grants, it sounds like you're getting from the state or the government, federal government
you
involved
can
in the
get
grant.
money from all of them.
But if you form a committee, you can advise us of grants, the council of grants that you would like. And
Well, the only
then
problem,
we can explore them, or you
Yeah.
can explore them and bring that and present it to us for approval. You
yeah,
can
the
always
only
do that.
problem with that is y'all think y'all got enough on your plate, because you haven't been worried about the park all this time. So
Oh, yes,
let's
we
put a
have.
board on there,
Yes,
they
we
can
have.
actually take care of it.
I'm gonna differ with you on that one. We
Well,
do care about that part.
If you really cared about it, there would be a lot more action over there than what has been in the last few years. I've been here for 40 years. That thing didn't even have a sign until we made a park board and I got it done. So no city council ever did anything over there, including this one.
I agree, I disagree with you.
Yeah,
I think
I
there's been
agree.
a lot that has
I
gone
do
on in
too,
that time.
strongly disagree with
I
that.
don't think that's what we're here.
Leon and Robin have, I mean, the Easter egg hunt and the Christmas wouldn't have even happened in the park if it wasn't for
For
Leon and
almost
Robin.
4 years, we did that, Bill.
Well,
Plus, we did the Easter egg hunt
Yeah.
a couple
And
of
the park
years.
board
We
did
did trunk or
before that.
treat with Karen Coy
and
for several
we did
years.
trunk or treat with Jack Shields back in the day.
Probably so, but you're making a comment that none of the council has anything to do with it.
But what have you done lately?
Well, in the last few weeks, nothing. I mean.
That's true, when the
a
toilets were
lot, but
busted, who paid for it?
I know of 3 events,
EDC
2
paid
events
for
that
it.
just happened
It
in that
wasn't the
park.
city council. it
Now
wasn't
there's
the
another
city.
one
They
that's
put no
coming
money
this
in it.
weekend.
That's all I'm saying.
The city did buy a $15,000 line, or, boy, how much was it? $13,700 lawnmower, because we have been having problems keeping the lawnmowers running, which is what is mainly used to mow that park. So we did just invest in a new lawnmower to mow that park. But I don't think we're here tonight to discuss whether or not what we've done in the past.
Right.
What we're here tonight is to discuss something moving forward to create a board to make things better. So it doesn't matter what we did or didn't do in the past. What matters is what we do tomorrow.
Yeah,
So it
but
does,
my only-
so it does, I mean, but I understand, but let me speak, please. So I mean, it's frustrating to me as a council member and a citizen, and it's frustrating to me for everybody sitting out here to see us to have the banner going back and forth about what did, what didn't. It doesn't matter, guys. Let's all just
Matters to me.
set all that aside, but it doesn't matter tonight. That matters if you're on a private conversation on the street and want to talk about that. Tonight, what matters is for us to formulate a plan, and if it's a board, it's a committee, it's a whatever it is to form that and to make things better tomorrow and the next day and the next year and the next 10 years. That's what I signed up and came here tonight and spent my time for. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
It's,
Our park is our city's crown jewel. It has endless possibilities. You know, Quinlan just had a little carnival down there. They charged $25 a wristband
At the church.
for the rides at the church. I have called into the lady that's in charge of that. It's called Triple T
is
Amusement.
it the Ticcolini family?
No,
The Ticcolini?
no. And anyway, if you were ever in Quinlan this weekend on Saturday night, that parking lot of the hospital,
Yes, it-
the jalapenos, all the other businesses along there besides the church, cars everywhere, hundreds of cars. We could have that right here. We've got a lot more room than the Assembly of God Church
Mary, I
has.
agree with you, but I think our problem is gonna be our grounds, right? If
Well,
you'll
circus here before.
Yes, a circus is something totally different, but to set up all those rides, the way that our terrain is there, it's gonna be tough to organize that. Because everything there is on a slope essentially.
But we've
There's a
had
few
both.
flat, well, we've had some little ones there, but there's a few flat spots, but it's worth looking at, right? It is worth looking at. And those are things that something like a park board or a park committee
Exactly.
would
Yes.
try to
Yeah.
bring and come to the council and say, hey, we got in touch with these people that do this, they've looked at it, they're on board, this is what they wanna do, this is when they wanna do it, and this is how they're gonna do it. Right? And that's great, and
And
that's
they're
what we
bringing
need.
revenue to the
Yes.
city.
We
as well.
need people that are thinking about those things outside of what's being handled here at this group of people, right? So, you know,
As far as like a budget goes for the committee, then we don't know that yet because we haven't done our budget workshop, so that's gonna
Right.
come up pretty
But-
soon.
but
We'll
I
know
mean,
what the numbers
I
are.
would think tonight.
Can I
what
ask
we'd
a
be talking-
question? When,
Well, that's park, it's not really, that's for maintenance and.
no, actually, it
there's some
has here,
income.
it has
It's
here
not all
line
expenses.
items. There's actual line items for expenses. It's under
Yeah.
Parks Department.
Right,
Right, and that's outside of what the scope of a park committee would be. That doesn't have anything to do with.
that would be the upkeep and maintenance and things to that effect. It
So-
would not be connected to a park board necessarily.
Or an event. We'd have to create another line, you know, if we're able to budget money. I don't know yet, because we have to get into the budget workshops yet.
Well,
To know whether or not, you know, we can actually budget.
on
for
your
that.
park income though, you have $6,000.
The campsites.
Yeah,
And that's just the campsite revenue.
yeah,
And,
per year or per month?
Per year.
per year.
okay, and so, and again, I look at that particular park and this particular city as your largest, most incredible revenue producer is going to be that lake and that particular city park. And I just drove through it the other day. And there is some deferred maintenance, but with what I also went through when Mikey was having his catfish competition and they had that whole stage backdrop with all those nice banners and things like that. And it was being utilized. There are a ton of opportunities, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but there's a ton of opportunities outside of West Tawakoni with which to draw in revenue. We're doing the 80-20 thing where, 20% of the people are doing 80% of the work. 20% of the people are expected to do 80% of the revenue building. And that's just not going to happen here. But if you market it and you promote it and you hit the McKinney and the Dallas and the Frisco and all those other places and get them away from Ray Hubbard and all those other lakes, and you give them opportunities, whether it's fishing, whether it's a yoga retreat family weekend, whether it's a carnival or whatever, that park, technically, in my opinion, how robust it is, it should be full with something at least 75% of the time, all the way up through Christmas.
And that's why we're having this workshop tonight, for the reasons, just like you just said. That's what we're thinking of. We all know that needs to be done, but we have no official committee or anybody else. I can tell you, this table has got more on its plate than it could handle doing events like that. That's why we need another committee, board, whatever you want to call it. We need a group of people that will dedicate some time and effort to put some of these things together. I know that my wife and I, way before we even came on the city council, we did a lot of this stuff. We got in the carnival, we got to the circus in here. We had all kind of events, not just us, but with other people, and we had a lot going. This has been 4 or 5 years ago, and we just haven't had any committee to take it up and have events, and that's what we're needing right now. I don't want the council to work on it because we've got enough on our plate, but that's why I want another committee to head that up and make events happen. But keep in mind, to me, June, at least July through August, September, there's not even any sense in having an event because we can't get them out there. It's too damn hot. It's miserably hot, and we get a showing at nighttime, but not during the day. they will not come out during the daytime. So we need to kind of gauge that with our planning of an event, that we're not going to get people out during the heat of the day. It's just not going to happen.
Unless
Plus
it's
it's
water related,
Right.
event.
Yeah, water related, sure. But I agree with what Kevin said. It was hard when we had the carnival. It was tough. They did it, but it's probably not the safest way to do it because the topography doesn't allow for it with all the slopes going away from the ball field and everything else. It's just not level.
Well, and a lot of those things too, those carnivals and circuses, you have to get in their circuit. And I think
Right.
that's what's happened to us too before, they just didn't have us in their circuit, so we had to wait until that came along too, so.
Yeah, because one year they'll go west, one year they'll go
Right.
east. And I think that's the circus. And the circuses are about a dead thing. There's more and more PETA is going after these circuses, and so they hardly have any animals. And it's getting to the point where they're gonna have to, there's only 1 or 2 circuses left in the United States. And it's tough. We've tried to call, get on the list. We can't even get a call back. That's
What
the
about a
reason.
pumpkin patch or, we all have hay, we have goats. We can bring them all to
And all that would be good ideas, but I think we're kind of veering off the road. Those are things that would need to be happening within this group. I think tonight, what we need to try to stay focused on to utilize all of our time efficiently is figuring out what we're gonna call this and how we're gonna start structuring it. We're probably gonna figure all that out tonight, but at least we can start getting pointed in a direction, right?
I agree. I think there should be something, but like he was saying, we have to have something where we can have something for profit. We can have donations, whatever the verbiage needs to be, whether it be a board or committee. That's what we need to know. So we are in compliance of being able to be for profit and also get donations and do community enrichments, all of those things that need to happen.
You also have to remember too, that we've got citizens here that they cannot pay to come to some events. So we have to be sure that we keep some events that
Just
are,
for the
they're
community.
free, right, a citywide thing. It needs to be free and open to the public and
I
to
agree.
visitors, so, yeah, but I love what you said, yeah.
Like the movies in the
Well,
park.
I would like to say that not calling it a park board, because with a park board, it's so limited people, we don't get the amount of volunteers. They just feel like worker bees and nothing else. And we've had park boards on and off throughout the years here, but we just need a couple of people in charge and to say, we got the phone tree going, or, emails or whatever, texting and say, okay, this event's coming up, we need to do this. Now, I always, in the police department, for years, I've been doing the trunk or treat. That's an easy one. You just announce it. I put it out. I send it to the schools. People come out by the droves. We've had thousands and thousands of kids. Easter, I've done one, and I've helped stuff and eggs with the fire department. It's just a come together, and we stuff eggs and thousands of kids come. And that's what we need. We don't need just a board sitting there just going, la, la, la. We need action. And that's when the volunteers have to come in. Even if you're just sitting at home and you go, it's nice this morning for Jane. I'm gonna see if I can remove some limbs or pull some weeds, or, you do it by yourself. There are things you do as a group and things you just go and help and do. You show up at the different events, anything that has to do with the military, fishing, show up, take pictures. And I was thinking on our own website, if we could post those pictures so people who, on that new website, it's beautiful, and put it where people can see it and go, yeah, we just, you come together as a group. And that's
What do we think?
more of a committee or something, but,
What if we just called it the City Park Event Committee? If we just, it made it something kind of generic like that instead of calling it a park board. That way it kind of leaves it open and something else we need to add in there too is if they do form that committee, Rhonda, I know y'all are working on a community calendar. That would be something that you could work in tandem with them too, to kind of get the word out there too, and make sure that everybody knows, what's coming up or what's going on. And give them an opportunity if they want to help too,
Yes.
because that's the problem, is we don't have people that show up to help to do things. They'll say they'll come, but the day up, sometimes the day up, there's a gentleman in the back.
I just have a question. So, I mean, you keep saying committee board about events. First and foremost, the park needs maintenance severely before you even think about that. I mean, you've got a shoreline that's eroded 25 feet in the last 2 years. That's not safe. I mean, it's not. We need a committee.
So
We need a board.
those are all things that unfortunately are in the very, very infancy stages right now.
Yeah, I
So,
understand. I've seen you do a lot.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, we just had a meeting this past week, right?
Well, I had a meeting with SRA about.
Right, discussing
So
that.
there's things,
So trust me, that's being worked on, but the problem is it takes time to get those grants because that's gonna have to happen with a grant.
No, I understand. I understand that, but
But Bill, and I see you throw your hand, but I promise you, we talked about 3 grants last week.
yeah, oh yeah, we had.
Right, but there's no reason to put that out there yet because it's such an infancy stage. So trust me, this council and the workers in this city, the city workers are working for all of us as citizens. Remember, everybody here is citizen as well.
no, I agree. The park has had quite a bit of things done to it.
Yeah.
It has. What I'm saying about a board or a committee only for events, but there's nothing there for the repairs, the maintenance, keeping the hoodlums out. I mean, I've got to where I don't even like coming there. There's so much crap going on over on the backside, and there's nobody, and I know there's police here, but they don't patrol it regularly. I shouldn't have to carry a gun to go to a park. That's the things committees need to do is make it safe for me to go first.
I think if you go to any park in the state of Texas, you're probably gonna have that feeling sometimes.
No, not really, not really. I mean,
So,
we go to a lot of parks. I mean, but what I'm saying is, have you been over on that part where the boat ramp is in the evening? It gets really wild.
We have to run them out.
That's what I'm saying. It needs to be patrolled.
I mean,
Maybe
the park is
people want to come
shut
there.
down at dusk anyways.
Just
So-
because the gate put a chain on it, don't mean they're not gonna walk through it.
Right,
Yeah.
What's
right.
that other side, so?
What, man, what did you have?
So I have a question. Other than the campsites that we have, what other revenue has come into the city park this year? How much did we make off of the catfish tournament that maybe just held a couple of weeks ago?
And
And
again,
okay, so
so what you're bringing up is kind of sort of the basis of the reason why we talked about trying to get
That's
this.
what we're trying to do is so that
And
we
so,
can.
from what I'm understanding from what Mr. Creed said, the difference between a board and a committee is that a board is allowed to generate revenue for the park, correct?
That's correct.
Well, all the
Let
revenue
me-
generated should go to the park.
Let me clear something up real quick. When we first started the board in 2016, we actually did the work. We actually did the work. We found committees. We got out there and found people to help, and we would do stuff. But we didn't just sit back. That whole thing with the board, the reason why it got kicked off is because a councilman and his mother, I ain't naming names, but they got up here and pretty much ran the thing into the ground, and they did what you said. Oh, no, we ain't doing nothing. We're just up there as a board. But that's not true. We had to raise our own money to get money to have events. We went out and got sponsors and
Well,
stuff to have
if you look at
events.
the ordinances and the bylaws, that board was never created to hold events.
Jim,
You can read it up,
what's
it's black and
what's
white.
your lawyer's name? Jim?
Matter
Yep, Jim McElroy wrote it up. And we told him that we needed to be able to do events, to raise the money, to do things for the park.
okay, well, that didn't happen.
Well, it did up until the time that,
Man,
Anyway, back to what I was trying to differentiate. I think that the park does need a board. You guys do have a lot on your plate and trying to figure out a way to generate revenue other than your campsites. Do we have is a certain percentage of any of the property taxes in West Tawakoni come into the city? Is any of that set aside like most cities have?
what do you mean?
So
You like
a
sales
lot
tax
of cities
Like the
designate a
EDC.
certain percentage of their property taxes from the city towards the maintenance and revenue for their city park. It keeps it up. It allows the city to maintain the park probably in a better condition than what we can currently afford to pay.
That's currently in our budget this year.
Yeah, what you see in the P and L.
It's in that-
Tax revenue.
It's in the budget. We do have money in the budget to take care of the park, but it has nothing to do with an event. Nothing.
Okay,
What,
no, and I
what
understand that.
she's trying to say is that in a lot of cities, have gone to the polls and had the people vote on it, and they have voted for a percentage of the sales tax to
2-3%.
go directly for.
And including real estate sales, from my understanding, we have a developer that's been purchasing quite a bit of Tawakoni, and they're fixing to blow up some subdivisions and some houses. And from what I'm understanding, property taxes are absolutely increasing because our property appraisals are going through the roof.
Right, we've got 100 permits right now.
Oh, and that's fantastic,
And that-
that's awesome.
And that doesn't mean, so the money that's in just the P and L that Michael just spoke about. So the $6,000, right, that you spoke of, that's not the whole budget for the park.
Right,
There's more in the park budget. And those monies do come inadvertently from the things you just spoke of.
Okay.
Because they're coming from the pool of money that this city receives, which inadvertently comes from all those things you just spoke of. So yes, that money is going there. So back to your point of the neighborhoods blowing up. We haven't done our budget workshops this year, but we're doing this because we know we're gonna do budget workshops. So we're all trying to get our heads in a gear that's gonna be able to improve that budget from those monies. But we can't disclose that yet because we haven't done our budget workshops. So we don't know what that's gonna be. So that budget, absolutely, I can't foresee in my wildest dreams that it's not gonna increase this year. It's gonna happen. Because we should be able to forecast way more money than what we had to forecast from last year.
Right.
So we're gonna be able to take those dollars and put them all over the city. And that's gonna be one of the places. They're not just gonna go to one place in the city. They're gonna go
so
all
why are
over.
we hosting big catfish tournaments on an almost weekly basis and we're not receiving revenue towards the park for the use of the park?
Bill, didn't we used to charge $100
Oh,
for the
no, it
park?
cost me,
How much was
50 or 500, first time, 250 the second
Yes,
time.
those, to use the entire park, there was a fee,
Yeah,
and that has gotten dropped.
Yeah,
And
well, there wasn't
And
the last two.
water, electricity, usage, everything, you had to pay for.
This is the reason why you need a park
we
board.
The last two fishing tournaments that we had,
Well,
yes.
there was money, not dollar amounts, but there was money promised to
I
go
know,
between
the sun
the
channel.
city and the fire department.
Okay, so,
And they didn't make any money, and neither, you didn't get, none of us got what was promised.
correct,
because
so
it
if
was-
they're using the park though for a catfishing tournament and they're charging so much per team just to register, it should be an automatic given that if they decide to host those tournaments, that the park receive a certain percentage from just,
That's exactly what I just said.
right, and we didn't. is what you're
Because there
saying.
was a
We did it
percentage to
because it
receive
was-
from.
Yeah.
They didn't turn out.
There was never any money ever for us to have any events, ever.
So we had a tournament and nobody showed up?
That was a very, very
Yeah,
little turnout.
yeah,
That
the
was the
second
worst
one
we
was
had in
even worse than the
Very
first
little
one.
turnout.
And we were promised, okay,
No.
he said they can either sit down, the profits from that, the entry fees, raffles, whatever they had, half was supposed to go to the fire department, half supposed to go to the city.
Well, it was gonna go to, it was gonna go
But
to
if you don't
covers.
pay
Well,
up front for the use of the
Then
park,
should
then you
you
shouldn't
pay
be
up-
allowed
Okay,
to host a
but
tournament.
here's the thing. The
Pay
reason why that agreement was
Right.
made was pay up front 500, or if the tournament would have, we partnered with them basically. If the tournament would have turned out, then we would have got covers over the playground.
Right.
So I mean, we take 500, or we say, okay, you know what? That's great. We can't control whether or not their tournament turned out.
No, but we can control whether or not we make something.
So you want the 500 and not, I mean, we took a gamble on that, yes. But if we would have took the 500, then it's 500 and they get to take all the
500
profits.
or a percentage of the profits. That should have been the agreement.
guess
up
So
front.
we
much
weighed
for
it
a
out,
percentage.
we weighed it out, the
We-
500 versus the covers, but we
Right.
also took into consideration the revenue for the local businesses that they bring in. Every time you have these fishing events, the small hotel we have down there, the restaurants, they're packed, the
Okay.
convenience stores. So we take that into consideration on some of these and we waive those fees.
Do we have a percentage of those sales? Do we have a percentage of those sales that are going to the city that are supposedly going into the?
You get
business?
sales- you get
On
sales
these
tax
two
from all of
events,
those.
but on these two
How much
events,
of
we
that
didn't go
is-
back. On these two events, we haven't gone back and calculated. We have in the past.
And that's the thing. I mean, if we have all of this money going into local businesses and we have so much that we're supposed to be receiving, you would think that the park budget would increase at the time of those tournaments, and it
You
hasn't.
can't increase a budget in the middle of the year like that.
No.
It has to
That's
be
almost-
once a year.
that's
You can
almost-
set
what we're
aside
doing.
certain- You can
That's
set
almost
aside a certain percentage.
That's what we're saying.
What?
At the, when
So what she's saying is a percentage yearly,
Yeah,
and we haven't
set
done
aside
it
a
that
certain
way.
percentage.
We set aside an amount. Other cities do a percentage. That's where she's
That
going.
way, if there's extra money coming in, you're still maintaining that same percentage, but there's extra money going towards the park.
Correct.
And that wouldn't be a bad idea. Because I know when I first moved down here, the swim area was decent. And now it's hard to take kids anywhere down there. Between the hooks and the beer balls and everything else, it's very difficult. Nobody wants to take their kids swimming into there anymore.
And just a side note, we are working on a new park rules board for the entrance that will resemble the one that was there.
Awesome. What about putting in a shorter retaining wall, like a shorter concrete retaining wall, to just kind of not fully cut off as bad as the swimming area, but somewhat submerged, maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 foot out to kind of keep that shore from eroding anymore.
Again,
Well-
we're chasing squirrels right now.
Yeah,
Those are all things that we were talking about, Texas Parks and Wildlife grants.
There's some grants out
There was another one that was, what was it called, fishing or, I don't remember.
And so
And
instead of
you have to-
asking you guys to
and you have to have
constantly crush
SRA
your
approval
heads
too to
and
do a
put
lot of
more on
that
your
too.
plate and applying for these grants and finding these grants,
Well,
maybe
that's
a
all right,
board
I'll
is
do
a
it.
good idea.
Yep.
That's why we're here.
Instead of a committee is what I'm saying.
That's why we're here.
yes.
Well, I think you guys are afraid you're gonna let loose of a little bit of control. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the park board absolutely, works for the city. Okay? That's what they do. They come to the city before they do anything. It's
Right.
always been that way.
Yeah, it would have
But you're
to,
not losing any
you'd have to
control.
get voted.
You just don't have to sit here and do all this.
Yeah.
We can do this with a park board away from here and then bring it to you.
I don't think there's any fear about any control.
Well, I mean, it just sounds that way.
You know?
So it sounds
I
like,
don't want control, that's the reason we're here. I don't want to part of it.
so it sounds like everyone is in agreement that this should happen, so why don't we start talking about how to make it happen?
Okay.
Great, thank
You
you,
know
Jay.
what? And I got a revenue stream that y'all have not mentioned yet.
What's
The
that?
RVs are not the only revenue that park could generate. I remember the day that every pavilion down there
That's
was
right.
rented
True,
out
yeah.
every weekend for parties and birthdays and all kinds of stuff.
There's
Right.
also,
And
And
now
we
they're
can
down
charge
there.
for that, but
And
that's
that's
only
still
to
the
reserve
current
that pavilion. If my family wants to have a family reunion at the park, at the biggest pavilion down there, we can go do that for free.
If it's available.
If it's available, if not, you go to another one.
Yeah.
So that's great as long as they're reserving it ahead in advance, but if they don't do it in advance, anybody can go use
it's a
those
first
pavilions.
come, first served basis.
Okay, so other than vendor permits at these events that we have, what other revenue do the vendors allow? What other revenue do the vendors put into the park? And does the park receive the vendor permit money?
Yeah, we do, like, when, the Market on the Lake's a good example of that. Whenever the vendors come in, they pay a fee. They pay a fee based on how much electricity or how big of an area.
Okay, and how much of that goes directly to the park?
Well, that we don't know. But that money's going into an account that's just sitting there.
That's,
whenever-
that's a whole other meeting. We
Yeah,
still,
that's a
we
whole
still
other
have,
meeting.
we still have a meeting that's in the forecast for that.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
We're still
Would it be-
chasing squirrels, guys.
Would
We
it
need
be
to
possible
reel
if we
ourselves
set up
back
a
in.
park board, would it be possible to set up a separate account specifically for the park for any revenue that gets brought in? So with the
It does
city.
already.
So
with the movie
We're
night-
we're already there. The only
Okay.
thing is that the signers or whatever, we opened a special checking account for Market on the Lake, for example. And monies have been brought to the city, it's been deposited into that account.
Into a park account.
For Market on the
Market on the
Lake.
Lake.
That's a whole different group.
It's a whole different group, yeah.
Right, but are they contributing to the park
Well,
for park revenue?
They are not at the time, but that's what I was saying. We have a whole other meeting that is to come, and that was one of the things that will be discussed in that meeting, that when they hold Market on the Lake, there will be a fee for them to pay for Market on the Lake. Again, all these questions that you're asking are the reasons why we created this meeting tonight, but we're chasing squirrels now, talking about prices and where the money's going, all that. Tonight, we need to form a board, guys. We need to form a committee, a board, whatever we want to call it, doesn't matter.
She has a
We
question.
need to form a group of people to take care of these things, and then we move forward. And then all this revenue that we're talking about, it filters into the place of the city and takes care of the park.
And are we gonna have the transparency if we set up a park board? Are we gonna have the
Everything in this-
Everything in
transparency
this
to
city is
know
transparent.
what's going where?
It's all transparent by law.
Okay.
All you gotta do is come up and ask for it, you got it.
And it
I'll
says
be
on
on
this
the board.
agenda, workshop discussion for the event park committee to be formed. It does not say park board.
Yeah, that's right.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Just kind of reel it back a little bit. If today I wanted to have an event and I had a party of 3 that were with me wanting to host this event, what is the process I currently would go through in order to get the city park?
I mean, at this point, that's set up a tent.
No. That's what I'm
You
saying.
actually have to reach out to the city. You would contact myself or Shannon,
Okay,
and then we would issue permits, we would schedule it, we'd make sure there's no conflicts.
okay.
So there is a process. in place.
So you're public works and you're technically code enforcement.
And
So
permits.
right now, and so you're wearing many hats. So I think what we're talking about is taking that burden from those 2 streams and centralizing it and giving it a captain and then having that person go down. So
The park
in-
board should be able to get everything situated and present it to get the correct permits. for the
Okay, and
event.
today that's not, that's today, it's, okay. And so
That's what
what we're trying to do is to reel that back in and alleviate the pressure from them.
They're still gonna have to come to the city hall and pay.
Oh, yeah, no.
Correct.
And it still has to be
I mean,
There would
coordinated.
because it would be too tough to try to set up a way for that to happen.
Right, the only thing
But
that we
still.
would want, I mean, even as a park board is, hey, if they've got a permit of $500, that $500 should go to the park.
Yeah.
Not to the fire
Yeah,
department,
That's the way
not
that money,
to-
that's the way the money streams anyway. Anything coming out of.
It has, it's set up like that
Yeah.
on our.
Karen, you got something?
Has to be.
Yeah, when y'all had the park board last, we were having problems, was having a problem getting the, ordinances finished, the payments, how much you're gonna charge. So do we X all that out and we can start over?
Seems like a good idea.
I think we're all open to any kind of ideas. We're just wanna,
Well,
we just
okay,
wanna, look,
then-
we want, the bottom line is, we want some community to do events in the park and it not be the sole responsibility on anyone. We want a committee to do that. And
Well,
have-
that's why we're here.
Yes, and
We
you've
should
got
be
a
able to
lot
talk
of
to each other.
volunteers right here in this
And
room
we
that
should
would
be
be
able
willing
to
to be
start
on that
figuring this
committee.
out amongst ourselves.
Let them raise their hand and
I want the
volunteer.
revenue. I want the board to create revenue to
Yeah.
better the park than what it is.
We have to decide whether it's a board or a committee. I
It
can't
needs to
see
be a
what the
board.
difference in the committee and Friends of the Park. They never could really do anything.
Can they still
You need to have a
sign a
board
check?
and then you
Can they
have
still-
committees below the board.
But Friends of the Park was only there to do events. That's what we were there for. We were not to, in our mission statement and whatever we had, it was only to do events and to provide, things for people to come out and do in the park to help with their health, their safety, what have you, in the park. It was not to maintain the park at all. That was never part of our mission.
Neither was it part of the park board. That city had their own host here that worked and did that for part of his pay. Took care of all that.
It sounds like y'all can probably figure out whether it's a board or a committee at maybe a later date.
It doesn't make.
And let's just move forward with trying to put together how you guys want to assemble
Yeah, we need to
this,
figure out how many.
what the
people we want
vision
on it.
is,
Yes.
and how to go about finding these people.
How many, just to raise a hand, how many people would be interested in being on the board or committee? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You got enough
six.
right here.
There's
Six of them
There
right
you
there.
go.
So,
I think-
You need
But it
an
should
odd,
be
you need an odd
ownership of
number.
the
yeah, I was fixing to say, if they're gonna
Yeah,
have voting,
you're
it's
not
gonna have to be an odd
It should be
number.
a
So we-
number.
I know I told my youngest one that I was coming down here to see if we could fix up the park, and he was like, "Oh my God, Mom, that'd be awesome."
So if we got 6 that raise their hand right now, we'd have to probably call it 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I
can't-
could step down. I have a 1-year-old, so I could be on the committee that's underneath the board. I just want to
We do
make,
not want
make
to
this a better place for my 5 kids.
We do not want to encourage
Yeah.
anyone to step down.
I mean, I can demote. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
We do not want to encourage anyone to step down.
And we're also on Zoom, so there might be some people out here that are listening and watching that might want to be on this committee too.
That would be
Yes,
fantastic.
Jason Henderson.
Committee partners,
Wants to be
whatever,
on.
donations,
I
whatever
got
we
it
can
on,
get.
on text.
Jason Henderson?
Yeah, he said he wanted to be on it. He couldn't be here tonight. And there was a couple of others that wanted to be on it that couldn't be here
Yeah,
tonight.
we'll have more, because, you know, if there's 6 of you here now, there's gonna be a whole lot more than
So
that.
we say
But
7
we need to
members.
limit the
Yes.
actual,
Yes,
the
let's
board
say
to make the
7.
decisions.
Say 7 members.
Yes, 7
Seven.
We're
members. So
making
you
progress.
can
I
have,
love it.
you can have.
There you go.
That works.
So what
I
about
didn't write
a
mine.
suggestion I have is, as everyone had to fill out a form for running for city council, any other spot EDC, why don't we have a form
Yeah.
where someone can fill out their information, what they can bring to the table and what their hours of commitment can be? And then you guys decide based on the applications who would the best candidates.
That's what we did with Friends of
Tandy
the
or
Park.
Shannon.
That's what we did with Friends of the
Yeah.
Park. We
Yeah.
actually had an
Park, you
application, we got all their
beautiful.
appointment information, and then we had a category.
She's gonna,
You
she's
just
gonna
checked
make
off
some
what you
copies
wanted to
of what
do.
Yeah.
Jack's
seems
talking
like-
about. Anytime you get on any kind of, P and Z, EDC, council, whatever it is, you fill out, it's like an application, but it's not. It just has your basic information on there.
Right, well, we have 6 people in here that volunteered. Bill said there were 3 or 4 others, that's way too many people, so maybe it needs to be a application and then you guys
agree.
decide based on the
Yeah, I
applications
agree.
that are submitted.
Yes, somebody back there.
So-
Later date.
ma'am.
One of the things that I would love to understand is the scope of what, we keep calling it events, and then we keep calling it revenue generating, and then so we're bringing in all these things. The primary revenue generator as it sits right now are the RVs, spots, correct? All right, and those are leased currently by communicating with, with Shannon or with the gentleman from
Right.
Public Works. Would those come out? And here's the reason I'm asking that. I was at one of the past meetings and it was kind of heartbreaking to me to find out that the 4th of July celebration had moved forward and there was confusion between who had spaces rented for RV use and who had spent spaces rented for food trucks and where things were going. And this was like 2 weeks out from the event. So my concern is that it seems to me that we've got some paths that are not being connected and there's some communication issues going on. One hand is not talking to the other hand. And so from a revenue generating standpoint, is this group only going to be responsible for events? Or are we going to have the full scope of the park, in which case that goes for the RV pads, that goes for all of it? If we want a kickball tournament and we want to rent out all the spaces, would we have the wherewithal to do that? Or are we still going to have this path crossing as far as who gets RVs and who gets
So
events?
a
The only
board
problem
would be
with
able to
that-
oversee the revenue of the park, which I would assume at that point,
It
if we
goes
had
back
a
to the
board, it
park.
would go back to the RVs and
Yes,
the sites like that.
it
We
does,
would have
but-
to, we would work with the city council. to
We've got
work
the
with
same
that.
issue coming up July 1st because we've got the.
That's the one I'm
Traverse
talking
Jam
about,
Fest.
Yeah.
where they rented
You
RV
can't
pads.
turn away, it's a public park. You cannot close that park to anybody.
Right.
Anybody that wants to come in can come in. And RVs are no different.
6 copies right there.
But if you have 12 pads and Public Works has rented out 6 for RVers and then 6 have been guaranteed for food trucks, and you get that 7th RV for coming in, you don't have a place to put it. So you have to be able to turn them away or you move in food trucks. I guess is my question. And that's where that communication gap is coming in. If 6 were earmarked for food trucks, Public Works should have been brought in on that in the
There
very.
wasn't anything earmarked for food trucks in the event you're speaking of. There wasn't anything, now there was some
Somebody
that,
made a phone call to the person who was in charge of it and they said that there was 5 spaces
there
that
were
they were
some that
using.
were said to gonna be rented, because I was in that meeting. There were some that said to be rented that were never rented, but that's all for a different.
Yeah, they were gonna
Right.
rent them, but not put RV pad on it.
But-
Okay,
So-
my,
so
so
we
my
have a-
question is the scope, the revenue
So we have an
generation.
ordinance that was in 2015. It was 237-1-13-2015. that number 7.
There's
on
one
page-
newer than that.
I understand. 2017, it was removed, what I'm fixing to say was removed in 2017, which has caused a problem with what you guys are all saying that you would like to do. So number 7 on page 2 said the Parks and Recreation Board shall advise the city council in matters related to events, improvements, and to the development of the park and recreation facilities in the city.
Quite frankly,
And recreation board shall assist in the city administrator and the city council in preparing and operating budgets for all events at the city parks and recreation facilities each year. That probably should have never been taken out of our ordinance, because that right there pretty much spells out everything that everybody's saying here that wants to do. But in 2017, we took that out of our ordinance. So it seems to me, we create this group of people, this committee of people, we fix our ordinance where we have it legal, because we have to have that. We have to have an ordinance that supports everything that we do.
Yep.
We fix the ordinance, which quite honestly, we take this one, we all look at it and go, well, you know what? This one was actually good. We screwed up and changed it. Let's put this one back on the table and roll forward and make progress. Simple, right?
Amen to that.
I just have.
back to what she was saying though, quite frankly, I really believe that if we're going to do this, that they need to be the ones that are renting out the spaces too. Take that away from.
The only issue with that is that I see is the logistics standpoint of the taking payments, controlling money,
Taking a phone call.
You have to have somebody up there to take money.
There you go.
But
So,
so does that mean somebody
Well,
on the
we
committee?
actually now have
Right.
ASAR on a laptop. I have someone who's training by Shannon to actually go there, take the payments, do the permits, the reservations, all of it.
And we've also, we're trying to talk about trying to figure out the whole app thing.
Yeah.
We haven't got there yet, but it is in conversation.
Okay, so are we legally able, if we decide to have a 4th of July event that requires food trucks and all of that, are we legally able to black out so many of those RV spots for those particular dates so that there isn't any
They have to
confusion in
be
the
rented.
future?
They have to be rented.
Okay.
They have to be reserved in advance.
and
And then
food trucks do not have to
My
sell.
question on
Is there a
Eddie
public
is-
calendar for this?
We do have a calendar.
Is it
for the
public
park.
calendar?
So
So
it's not
yes,
public,
but
it's,
I think
so if you
Rhonda's
call us and you
working
make a
on that.
reservation, we have a calendar where we put that in there, it's marked on, from what time you're arriving to what time you're leaving.
But the
Well, it's gonna
committee
be
could
there.
have access to it, so they could plan ahead and know what's what, and if they wanted to.
I could
occupy
Well, we
some
would have to do
spots.
that, because
Yeah.
if this committee doesn't correlate with us,
Yeah.
then we're running against each
That's
other.
all it sounds
So
like
we
is
would all
needed.
have
With
to deal with it.
TPWD, I mean, you can
would.
go online and reserve your RV right from your computer and you don't have to have any issues, and so.
That just sounds like what is needed.
And that's what we're planning on, hopefully,
calendar.
at some point, we can do with those campsites.
Okay.
But we're just not there yet. We haven't figured that out. We're about 40 years behind, in case y'all haven't
It happens.
ever been told.
But I think what needs to happen here is you need to let these people have a meeting, decide what they want to do. We
And
need
then,
to, and
then
bring,
we all come back.
maybe bring us some names of what you want to name your board, your committee, whatever.
then we all come
And then
back
bring us some ideas and then move forward from there.
Yeah.
Because all we're doing right here is we're just talking about different things that they're gonna be in charge of.
Exactly.
They need to decide that.
Right.
So let them
But
have their
here's-
meeting.
Here's the
Let
problem
them
with that.
decide.
If we don't understand what the true scope of our responsibility
Well,
can be.
you'll have it. Here's the ordinances right here. You can go over those and do that.
Okay, but then as far as generating revenue, we would,
But that's on y'all to decide.
well, but it's not, because Public Works is saying
Right,
that
you
they're
have to have him
responsible.
in your meeting.
Okay.
Okay, that's the other thing.
What's
It's
up?
okay, so
Okay.
it's important to me to have community enrichment. There are a lot of families in this area that cannot afford a lot of the things. We were on public assistance for about years. We've been off of it for 10 years, but we still see those families that struggle and we know what that's like. So for me, it's very important if this is happening and I would be a part of it, that the scope in there that I haven't heard is community enrichment for our families that are here, along with the revenue we need to build up the park. Would the community enrichment be a part of this?
It should be.
It's
What kind of community enrichment are you talking about?
Right.
Well, so, I mean, they do have a few events, for Christmas and, trick or treat, things like that, but there's nothing else in this town to promote families to come out with their children.
All
They're
these
having
events,
meetings
would-
in the park.
all these events will be public.
Yeah.
And
One of
then
the,
when they're, well, and also,
I've heard a lot of people, even us, we hear about it, but it's already been passed because the communication is just not out there. A
And
lot
that
of
would
things
be part of
posted
the
here.
board to do
But
that.
a lot of people don't work here. They work in other towns. They come home. They don't come up to the city. They pay everything online. We pay everything online. This is probably the second time I've ever been out here. So we don't see the posts outside. Facebook is delayed. There's like 3 different Facebook pages for the town. So even when there are community things that I'm just now hearing about the movie thing. There's a lot of percentage of us that doesn't know what's happening in the city.
There's
So
probably
with
a
the
bigger
committee
number than
feeling-
that, because there's a lot of people that do not have internet. The ones that don't have internet don't understand
And
internet.
that's something else too, if you form your committee or your board, you can have your own Facebook page.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, like having a Facebook page specifically for the board and being allowed to post on all of the West Tawakoni city pages on Facebook, maybe a Twitter feed, maybe an Instagram, taking tons of pictures. Basically, get anything out there as much as we can PR related to start
Who would
promoting it.
be interested right now heading up the coordinating of getting the members together and then having
Let us
a
decide.
meeting, and then y'all decide on who's gonna head up.
We need to meet,
That's what
let
I'm
us
saying.
decide.
Well, we're gonna do the
So
application.
we need, right now, I need somebody to take the reins and
All right.
make that happen until y'all get something voted on. Yes.
Can I just suggest this?
Yeah.
Right now, we're just getting the application forms. Let's get the application forms, then let's decide who we're picking for this committee.
For the 11th.
And then
That's a lot of
once we
people.
have that committee together, we'll let them decide who they want to have as their president, who they want to have as their.
But we still have to approve it, so that'll be on the July
But you gotta
11th.
have
Maybe
somebody
like-
that's
Yeah.
kind of a little bit in charge to kind of guide the meeting.
That's
along.
kind of what I'm
But
thinking.
we need
Yeah.
to get the application.
I don't think we
first
need to know that
determine
tonight,
who's
though.
there.
No.
Personally, I don't
Okay,
think we need to know
so
that
in
tonight.
regards to the application and determining who's on the board, how about we give it 30 days? Get applications from everybody that wants to participate. Once all of those applications are in, the ones that are approved, phone call, email, text message, whatever, reach out to them, say, hey, your application has been approved. We'll set up an evening meeting to where everybody that was approved that does still want to be a part of it, we all get together and we all sit down together with you guys and decide who's actually going to head everything up.
That's fine.
That
What
would be great.
I'm looking at is, July the 11th. That's our next scheduled city council meeting. That's a regular session.
So-
If we could do that, but again, like Robin said, we need somebody.
Need more?
Somebody that's just kind
No,
of a
I
little
just need
has,
a,
can kind of keep the group moving.
So
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of great ideas and opinions, but you gotta have somebody that's kind of, and I don't want to use the leader or the boss or whatever.
And
You gotta have-
and to let myself or Kim know, or Shannon,
Did you have something?
how many you
I'll
got?
volunteer if y'all are looking for someone. to-
Yeah,
Listen,
is that an application?
I've only had my hand
You
up.
volunteer?
and
tired.
Went through about 5 people. Now I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. Whether I get.
Okay,
Approved or not.
okay, is
First of all, I wanna
everybody,
say this. I am extremely excited seeing this many people excited about doing something for the park.
That's true.
All your ideas and stuff, I mean, it's great ideas, and they're gonna have to be worked on, they're gonna have to be worked out. Can't just do it right here, and these people up here, damn sure can't do it. So, I know it, no offense,
Oh, now,
but I'm excited as hell to see you guys doing that, and I applaud y'all. Somebody else did. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
So
Hey,
I
you should
think,
have picked me a long time.
I think Jack said she would,
Jack, you wanna
I gotta
head up?
sign up
Yeah.
sheet.
I certainly can.
Coordinating getting the first meeting together, coordinate getting the applications and stuff like that.
So this is
Here's the application.
regardless of what happens with the application. So there's no vetting process.
Well,
No, you
what are you talking
cannot,
about?
you cannot have those applications going to a citizen.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Illegally.
They need to go
That's
to
They
you
need
guys.
to come
That's right.
here.
But I mean, I can take names and emails and all the stuff and coordinate stuff, but is there a
Yeah,
vetting, is there a
yeah, yeah.
vetting process that you have
We have to go.
once someone submits an application?
And all you gotta do is go to the window, if it's after hours, there's a slot down below it, just put it in the slot.
So is there a cutoff date for the application?
Uh, Well,
I would say if
there
the
should
next
be,
meeting is
yeah.
July
And
11th,
I would
would
say
cut
that
off
would
the
be-
Jim, does there have to be a cutoff, or do we take what we have for the next meeting?
Probably
Because you
could.
want those to keep coming in.
Okay, so
Well, I
I
think
know,
the cutoff is for, like, July sixth or July 11th meeting. We need to have an agenda item on there.
okay, so cut off for applications, July 11th, the Friday before the meeting, we have the meeting Tuesday.
Actually, we need to have it before
The-
then, so because of the
meeting's
agenda process. So
Right.
Okay.
July 6th would be our cutoff day.
Okay,
So I just want to clarify what Robin is asking, because if there is some vetting process with the application, what is the point of taking names and coordinating things now? Coordinating groups now.
Right.
Correct.
What
Just
is,
if
what is
you-
the
if
point?
you
I would
would-
say
if-
July 11th.
If you would
Yeah.
like to have a copy of the physical park
Well, only
application,
because
Yeah.
you can take that and tailor it into what you want to make it into. I will bring it to you.
Okay.
I'll bring you a copy of it, and you can look over it. You don't have to do anything on there that we did. It was just a little short form.
Yeah.
It just had their basic information, their email, phone number, address, everything on there. And then you can make it into whatever you want to, if that'll help you.
Right, but am I clear that I can't do anything right now?
Right.
Right? Okay, we're all, okay. It sounded like you were saying,
So-
here's a piece of paper, get people
So
together.
everybody knows the deadline will be the July the 5th. You have to have them into the window during the day. If it's after hours or weekend, slide it in the slot. That way we can get on the agenda on July 6th to have a July 11th meeting. We always do the agendas Thursday before the Tuesday meeting.
What
That
time?
way, if there's anything we kind of missed, or it's just a cushion, buffer for us.
What time on Thursday and what time on the
Wait,
11th?
why do you
Doesn't
have to
matter.
have-
Before 5,
If
because
you
that's
just
when
put
the
in
office
there
closes.
on the
No, what
agenda
time do you
that
guys
you're
do
gonna
the
be
agendas
taking
on
it.
Thursday?
Yeah, the application's gonna be here. We can just-
Yeah.
All the way up to the meeting.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And then
yeah,
July
yeah.
11th would be the
Be sure you
6:30.
tell them that, so.
The meeting's gonna be on July 11th. You can turn applications in the day of the meeting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're not gonna we're not gonna look at anything.
There's not a vetting process.
Well,
Me?
there is
There will
a
be.
vetting process because they'll have to have a
Not enough hours in
background
the
check
day.
done.
The meeting will be at 7.
I mean, that's
on
the
other
vetting,
end.
the vetting process is a
Okay.
background check,
Oh, there you go.
essentially. Now,
Unless it's special
there would be
session.
a voting, right, because if we only have 7,
Okay, so
there's-
do we need to be here at 6:30 just in case?
if there's 15
Well,
applications. we're gonna have to-
The only reason we would meet at 6:30 on the 11th would be because we have a special agenda because of a zoning ordinance or something like that.
We would not do this part to a regular meeting at 7.
Right, at 7.
Could you also put on the agenda that we need to do something as far as, the city of West Tawakoni having a Facebook page where they just put the word out? Because social media is a lot, we've had it on newspaper.
So
And
what
so,
will-
and
what'll
who the
end
hell
up
goes to the
happening-
webpage?
So what'll end up happening is if we get the park board created,
Yeah.
we will
We'll have
create
your own,
our
yeah.
own Facebook and we will tie into it with a Twitter
Yeah,
and
but
with an
they
Instagram.
want to put out
And we would
stuff that's
tag
gonna
all of
happen
them
in
in
the
it.
city.
We would tag all of them in it, we'd be able
You
to.
hear
Your name and
We
phone
need
number?
one to tell us what's happening.
They're not doing
Not
it
the
tonight.
park.
We
I'm talking about
have
the
to-
city needs one, it's like this meeting tonight, hell, I got online, and I can't tell you how many people saw it.
I hear what you're saying, but just to echo what you said a while ago, who's gonna do it? Because just like you said, we can't take care of the park, and you said there was no offense, and none of us took any. But again, that's adding another thing to the list of things to do at this point in time.
So the city has no interest in reaching out to its
Yeah.
citizens to give you information about what's going on.
No, we have 100% interest in it. It's just a matter of how do we do it? How do we do it right? How do we do it the same all the time? Effectively. You don't have enough people to do it effectively.
We just had a lady that worked here 39 years and retired 2 weeks ago.
Who was the person that's doing the webpage? Because how hard is it to just throw that
One of-
over on the Facebook page?
One of them that retired 39 years ago, was her and her were doing the website. So now it's her doing the website and the stuff that the lady was here for 39 years was doing.
Okay, so maybe just whoever's on the park board partnering up
So-
with you and figuring out the Facebook and.
I mean, if we can give her a little bit of time, to kind of get settled into this and
Get you some help over.
weather through the storm, right? Then trust me, Facebook is a big thing for me, but it's not something for me to talk about tonight because it wasn't.
Do y'all need a copy of these ordinances in order to have your meeting?
You guys are gonna
Do
be.
you need a copy of
You got
these, Chuck?
something?
Yeah, we have to be careful, remember on Facebook, that if you have a page, then you do need to state, this is for outgoing information
You can set it up that
only or
way.
questions,
You
you
can
know,
set it up that way.
because you have to be careful because of
You can turn on
People-
commenting on any
Yes,
posts.
you turn comments completely off.
Yes.
Yeah, you just have to be careful, because
It's an
we've had
information.
problems with
City
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 groups.
can't do that
deleting-
though.
Right, the city can't, but if
But
we
you
read
can.
it,
I just want to continue to say that I have a page, I love Lake Tawakoni. And I've never had anything negative on it, and I post out all the news from everywhere and what's going on in events.
Why do y'all say the city can't when every other city has it?
They have them, but then
They
you
have
can't turn off
information on
comments. You can't turn off the comments.
There's no comments on any other page. Don't Carol.
Well, I know.
It's strictly an information page.
Bill, we're not the same as Terrell, we're not the same people, but I can guarantee you big money that if you started a city Facebook page,
We're
you
way off
would get a
track,
lot of
guys.
negative
Thank
comments.
you.
We're way off track. We're way off track. I'm asking, please. We're way off track.
You guys are going to vet these, when you do, can we keep in mind that we'll need someone with strengths that's a liaison for social media, someone who has strengths that would be able to communicate with the water parks and has that kind of experience,
Yes.
someone who has strengths with events, someone who has strengths with profits and being able to build profits on different events, someone who has strengths off like community enrichment. I just ask for you guys to keep that in mind because we don't want someone with just profit strengths all along the line. I would like it to be, even if I don't have the strengths you're looking for that to be in my community.
Just so everybody knows and we're clear.
Please put as much information
They will
as
not be
you
vetted.
can.
Yeah.
They will not be vetted by that July 11th meeting. Make sure we all understand that. Because we're letting applications drop in the box until the day of the meeting. So let's not have no false sense of securities here.
We said they have to be.
No, they don't have to be because we're not doing anything with them before that. We
No.
can't. It would be almost secretive.
So no one is being chosen.
Right, we can't. We
That-
can't do
puts us
that
another
without.
month out.
Okay, so
It
then
doesn't,
what is
so,
the meeting
hold
on
on,
July
hold on.
11th for?
So are we gonna have a meeting, a public on record meeting on July 6th?
To list the
No,
people
but
that
We
volunteered.
would have to. We would have to.
Actually, Kevin.
If we have a meeting on July 11th,
I know.
then the only way we can vet anything is to do it right here in open. We can't do it in private. Are we all gonna meet at Rancheros and vet them?
No, what we're
I
saying
mean-
is if we have their applications by the 5th, then we can look them over in our July 11th meeting and choose the ones that we want.
But why is, what, the 5th? But I'm saying,
So that we could have it on the agenda that we were going to choose.
we're gonna make a
on the
decision that
other one.
night.
That's what we're
We need
saying. So that we can go ahead
Bring
and
it
get
if
started
they're-
on this
I
instead
don't know,
of.
guys, you're not giving me
Well,
much time to get
we're not-
applications in.
I don't foresee any events being, besides the normal trick or treat, Christmas, and whatever the other one,
I think
Easter
that-
egg.
I
I
think
don't
it's pushing
see, I don't see anything being a plan
Right.
between now and the end of the year.
July 5th is what, 8, 9 days?
Well,
away?
I said trick or
So,
treat.
why don't you just announce it
That's what I'm telling
at
you.
the next meeting and give people enough time to get in?
What if we
Maybe
put
other
it
people
off
that
to
don't
the
want to-
August
Just
meeting,
these
the
people may not be the only
August
ones.
council meeting to give y'all some time?
Yeah,
What if we did that? Just
Yeah.
put it off till August council meeting to give y'all enough time, because that really is not enough
Cause
time.
if we do it July 5th, I'm telling you, the only applications we're gonna get are the ones that were here interested tonight and 2 more.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
not enough time.
we can do that.
That's
We
what I
can
was
put it
getting
off
at.
to the August meeting, which would be
August 15th.
August 15th. So then the applications need to be in, what's the Thursday before, the 15th?
Well, that way,
I would say Wednesday
everybody
before.
here can come to the trunk or
The
treat.
10th.
I would say the Wednesday.
Why don't we do the
and
end of
Thursday.
July, give it time to get the
Wednesday
background
before
checks
we do
done?
the 9th.
Cause everything will come out at 2:30 to 4 on Thursday. So,
Right, the workshops take up the whole month of July.
Yeah.
Probably no more than 30 seconds.
So recounting then by adding more time, all the applications need to be in by August 10th, so we can get them on the agenda on August 11th. And we'll be in the meeting on August 15th.
It's kind of your forte.
Can you do backgrounds?
Yeah, planning and stuff like that.
August 10th, August 15th meeting, right?
Yes.
Can you have backgrounds done on, say, 20?
Well, Tuesday's the 8th.
It's the 8th? Second Tuesday's the 8th.
So
Would
park,
you rather
so
them be
park
in
board
by
has
the
to be
8th?
by the 8th.
Hold on. Our council meeting in August is on the 8th.
Okay, so you gave me the wrong date then.
Oh, I sure did. I apologize. I didn't see that. I didn't have my glasses on. It is on the 8th.
Okay, so let's rephrase that then.
It's on the 8th.
The second thing.
Okay.
Yeah, the second, we need them by the
So we
second.
need them by the 2nd of August
Yeah.
to have them on the agenda by the 3rd.
We
So
need them
I'm
by the
sorry,
2nd.
August 2nd,
So they can get background checks for you.
August 2nd, sorry.
And then when we come in on the 8th, we'll figure out who's all gonna be on the actual board.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I don't expect you after that.
Y'all gonna be out of
August
town?
8th, all we're gonna have is Christmas in the park, trunk or treat Christmas in the park
Oh, so you just
this
dodged that
year.
bullet.
There's not gonna be another event. I can't see y'all putting together.
I think one.
Well, you'd be amazed at how quick a parent can put together an event. Shoot.
But it's
Yeah,
a
a
lot
fall
different for the
festival.
city. It's not the same as doing it for the city of Johnny. It's not the
All right,
same.
so we got a plan together?
We have a plan together.
Okay, let's
We are
adjourn.
down,
See the agenda.
we are down to adjournment.
Yes.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Wait, hold on, but there was no other citizen input stuff?
No,
I don't see my agenda.
No,
Okay.
it's a workshop.
You got a second? All in favor, Kevin Featherston?
Pam Reed.
First per cap.
What the hell did we vote?
Leaving?
To adjourn.
If you want to go, you're free to leave.
Oh my God.
Here is the application. If anyone would like one.
What do we do with the application?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll have to get a candidate. Which one do we need to use first?
Y'all have a good night.